Now to our first conversation. Well, climate change has been in focus with countries making pledges to reduce net zero emissions. At the just concluded COP26, quite a number of deals were signed for investment in renewable energy solutions in developing and emerging economies to move away from dirty alternatives. Energy in Africa is a scarcer commodity than in the developed world, with more than 500 million people living without electricity. Across the continent, only 10% of individuals have access to the electrical grid. And of those 75%, they come from the richest 2 quintiles in overall income. Well, to weigh on the challenges and opportunities, we have Goziem Okubor, Senior Investment Associate at Odyssey Energy. Great to have you on the program this morning. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right, so the world is in the middle of a profound, energy transition, a global energy sector that's actually dominated by hydrocarbons, is in the process of a shift that's never been seen before. How ready is Africa for this?
Well, we have to be ready. I think that's the reality. Climate change is a real reality, and you can see that Africa contributes about 4%. Which is the lowest of any of the continents, to greenhouse gas emissions. However, we are disproportionately going to be affected by climate change and the effects of climate change in terms of increased, extreme weather events, in terms of famine and the effect on food security chains. So it's important for African leaders to take steps to, one, increase our sources of energy, and also imperative because of jobs. So what we find in the energy transition today is that the energy transition is going to be a major driver of the jobs of the future. You can see, I think, you can have about, the Nigerian government has a target to create about 250,000 jobs from the renewable energy industry. And so we see it not just as a solution to problems we have, but also an opportunity as well for other related problems, including job security in the country.
And right here in Nigeria, how do we actually balance this shift? Because, the dependence on dirty fuels, it's quite massive. You see in South Africa there, we see coal-fired. That's how they get their own electricity right there in South Africa. Looking at this transition now, and from a Nigerian perspective, how are we doing?
Well, today about 43% of Nigerians don't have access to grid electricity today. And so when we think about the problem and all the possible solutions, it requires a lot of money to build out the infrastructure that can electrify Nigerians and increase our productivity, which is really the goal of electrification. Off-grid energy offers a solution to that problem. Right now, with the energy transition, you're seeing a shift in the sort of financing available for new hydrocarbon type projects, and this will only become worse. So given some of the commitments that everybody has made, including the Nigerian government, to net zero targets even at the COP26, you're finding that financing is available for clean energy alternatives, and they are also topical. They're also important in order for us to close the energy access gap in Nigeria. That's what Odyssey is doing, is bridging that gap between the global climate change conversation and building sustainable solutions to actually providing a solution to an actual problem that Nigerians have, which is energy access.
Right. And talking about Odyssey, you have this demand aggregator for renewable technology that's called the DART program. Who's this actually meant for?
That's a great question. So right now, we have a renewable energy ecosystem that is full of innovation, right? You have mini-grid developers, solar home systems developers. You have a lot of technology companies that are providing solutions across the value chain. And the DART facility is focused on developers of clean energy projects, primarily using solar. Right now, what we see, the problem that we're trying to solve is that the industry is really made up of small and medium enterprises. And because of the dependence on foreign supply chains and manufacturers, these companies don't have the financing available to place large orders. And so I was reading a conversation on social media about why the cost of solar is so high. And this is one of the primary problems, is that there is no scale for the players in the industry individually to get any sort of economies, and benefits, discounts in terms of pricing. What we're trying to do with the DART facility now is to aggregate orders and place orders on behalf of developers within the ecosystem, get them access to volume-based discounts from high-quality suppliers, as well as take steps towards localizing the value chain for renewable energy components. But at the very beginning, what we're doing is aggregating orders so that we have, instead of 10 orders of 10 pieces, we have one large order. We can negotiate discounts and thereby bring down the cost of power, bring down the cost of logistics, bring down the cost of procurement for these developers, and enable them to also move faster in developing projects for the people who need them.
So it's actually possible to have these, solar products actually affordable, because they're quite expensive.
That is the goal of the program. It's baby steps. So the reason why solar is expensive, like I said, is because of the lack of economies of scale. The cost of financing that renewable energy developers have to face in order to get inventory, to get shipping done. And the DART facility, which is what Allon is handling, is a $10 million facility, was seeded with $5 million from Allon and $5 million from the Global Alliance for Energy and Planet. And basically what we're going to do then is give upfront financing to these developers, to eligible developers, in order for them to participate in the aggregated procurement program. It's really like a groupage program that a lot of Nigerian entrepreneurs actually do, where you can basically group your orders into a large container, thereby negotiate better rates on your procurement, on your shipping, and ultimately on your clearance and landed cost of your goods.
All grouped together. Well, tell me, what's the state of the renewable energy industry, and why is the DART program actually necessary at this point?
So, like I said earlier, there's been a lot of growth in the industry, right? Today, Allon has invested in about 30 companies, where that number should increase by the end of the year. Different companies doing different things. We have mini-grid developers, we have solar home systems, distributors, we have aggregators, we have technology companies providing payment solution and customer management for these companies. There has been a lot of innovation, and there is a lot of financing now coming into the space because of the imperative of SDG 7. Allon's role is really about enabling that innovation, enabling finance, enabling an ecosystem. We are very research-driven in our work. In fact, the DART facility actually came from the idea for the DART facility came from a study that we had commissioned earlier in the year around the value chain that was conducted by SE for All, basically recommending two things: recommending aggregation as a way to create economies of scale, as well as localization of the value chain as sort of an ultimate solution to bringing down the cost of solar in Nigeria.
Well, it's quite a sizable investment for sure. But why is Allon funding, this DART financing facility?
Well, Allon, like I said, our mission is to provide energy access to unserved and underserved Nigerians. We have a target of facilitating 1 million new connections to sustainable, clean, reliable energy in Nigeria by 2030. And so there are three ways that we do this. We do this by directly financing companies. So we invest equity and debt into companies, which we've done. We've disbursed about $16 million within the last 3 years. And then we also enable the ecosystem. So that's our research. We use our convening power to bring people together, network. We have a program called the Allon Hub that provides technical assistance for companies within the space. And the third thing we do is enabling finance, where we try to crowd in capital, crowd in capacity, and crowd in investors and thinkers into the space in order to provide solutions that we may not be directly able to do. And the DART facility, I think, is part of our enabling finance mandate, which is work with partners. So the partners with the DART facilities are the Global Energy Alliance, as well as Odyssey Energy Solutions. So we're working with partners to come up with a solution to a particular problem that we have found, which is the high cost of solar and the slow pace of development of mini-grid deployments. And so that's really what we're trying to do with the DART program.
All right, so I'm guessing there are other, forms of, aggregate procurement that actually work. Do you have, examples of such?
Yeah, absolutely. So aggregated procurement might be a bit of a fancy word.
Yeah,
it's really just about putting demand together to negotiate better prices from a party, which is a manufacturer. In this case, what we're trying to do is reduce manufacturer margins on the procurement of renewable energy components, your solar panels, your batteries, your inverters, your meters, as well as reduce middlemen in the process, thereby reducing the landed cost of these equipment. And that happens everywhere. I mean, spare parts dealers do groupage deals where they, you can't really fill a container, but you work with a freight forwarder to get a part, so to basically fill a container with your goods and other goods to reduce the landed cost of what you're procuring. I think it's very simple. A lot of people do it in a lot of industries. One other example is in the healthcare industry, Gavi, which is the vaccine agency, basically does aggregated procurement of vaccines from vaccine manufacturers, as well as combining finance in order to get the prices of vaccines down to countries that need it, like Nigeria, and with the COVID-19 vaccine, for example, at an affordable price. So it's really the same concept that we're trying to apply to the renewable energy industry. Yeah.
All right, so I saw there's a lot of talk about, hydro energy, in this space. How does that work?
Hydro energy, solar energy, there are all sorts of innovations within the renewable energy or clean energy space, really. The thing that is basically connects all of them is using sustainable sources of power. In the case of hydro, water and the force of water movement. In the case of solar, the sun, which is an abundant resource that we have in Nigeria, across Nigeria, to create, store, and distribute energy, and that's the goal of sustainable energy, which hydro is one of them, as well as solar.
Solar, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at everything that Olon is doing right now, how does looking at the DART, how does all of this play into Olon's work?
Well, Olon's mission is simple. We basically are here to create energy access, sustainable energy access for Nigerians who are unserved and underserved by the present, grid arrangement. And so a lot of the people that we work with are thinking of solutions off-grid, mini-grid, or interconnected, grid-based solutions, CNI and market-based solutions as well. We find different ways to achieve this mission. And in the DART facility, like I said, this is one way where we see an opportunity to work with partners, to also support initiatives that the government has, in this case, the Nigeria Electrification Project. And our CEO, Dr. Boa, is very passionate about building coalitions, using our convening power to come up with solutions. So the DART facility is just one more step in our mandate to work with partners to create financing solutions for companies in the space in order to help them solve their problems and ultimately get Nigerians, the end users, which is really what the point and goal of this program is, sustainable and affordable clean energy.
Quite a laudable goal there. But looking at this, this sector going forward, what's your outlook, from a Nigerian perspective?
I think that I'm very optimistic about the sector. We've been operational for about 4 or 5 years now, and we've seen the growth of the sector. Right today, across Allon, we have a early stage portfolio where we see a lot of early stage innovation and people just building things, right, and testing out business models, and we try to support that. We have a program with the USADF called the Energy Challenge, where we basically help that innovation. And then we are seeing now more growth stage companies that have proven a business model and are developing solutions, market-based solutions to communities that they have identified and are sustainably working with. So the renewable energy sector is going to be a driver of, I think this is very important, a driver of jobs and innovation in Nigeria in a time that we really, really, really need it. And so one of the things that we're trying to do as well is support training, support capacity building in the ecosystem in order to drive that sustainable growth.
All right, we'll keep tracking your work.
Absolutely.
Allon Energy. Thank you so much for coming on the program, Goziem Okubor, Allon Energy Senior Investment Associate.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on Business Morning today.
Thank you.